No, I'm really just
Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Kimberly Chronicles. I decided to make another video today. It is Friday. I'm exhausted, but I have some free time, and I said that I was going to do better for my New Year's resolutions. That I do my YouTube videos as a hobby, and I was like, Kim, you be doing so good, and then life happens and you quit. So I'm trying to keep my pace up and try to post as frequent as I can. So I'll be thinking of ideas on the weekends when I be off of videos to post. But yep, today is Friday. I'm glad that the week is literally over with. I am exhausted. I am tired. This has been my first week back, to getting up early since the kids came back from Christmas break. And I am getting up early every single day at 6 o'clock. And when I tell you a bitch is tired, I am exhausted. I am exhausted because I have to get up at 6 o'clock, get my kids ready. Sometime I take a nap. Today's one of those days I did not take a nap. I'm gonna have to. I clean up the house a little bit, put on some clothes, cook me some breakfast, and then get ready to get on the clock at 11:30 all the way up until 8 p.m. And once 8 p.m. hit, usually I can't decompress because my kids come to me with 1,000 things. I have to deal with homework. I have to deal with people want to go to the store to buy candy and chips, or somebody have a school project. It's always something. Or I have to buy some groceries or something for the house so I can cook dinner the next day. It's literally always something. So I pretty much, after the kids go to bed around like 10 or 11 o'clock, I'm up to like 1 trying to decompress after being on the phone for 8 hours, talking to people all day and just trying to get my mind right. And over the Christmas break, it was easy because the kids weren't here. So when I got off at 8 o'clock, I could pretty much do what I wanted to do and then go to bed whenever I wanted to and get up whenever I wanted to because I didn't have to be at work at 11:30. And now that the kids are back in school, it's a whole different thing, and I am exhausted. Not to mention, I had the bright idea of registering for classes this semester because I'm trying to get into this medical lab tech program. All I need is chemistry and math. And I thought it was a very smart idea to register for classes. I have my chemistry online and I have 2 math classes, and they're on Saturday. So I will be in classes from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. every single Saturday. What was I thinking? But to try to get to reach my career goals and make more money than what I'm making now because my kids are literally breaking me at the moment, you got to do what you got to do. So these next few months are going to be some trying months for me. I'll tell you that. But on to what I wanted to make the video about today. So, as you know, I'm a military spouse and we just moved here. We're at Fort Benning right now, but we live in Phoenix City, Alabama, and we got here in January of 2025. Well, we're about to try to move again, but this time we're moving on post since we live off post now. And today I wanted to make a video about, what's basically the pros and cons of both, living on post and living off post. I've actually done both, pretty much, both of them. And just to give a little highlight of it, I have good and bad of both, pretty much. So, yep, today's video is going to be how is it living on post versus living off post. So, to get started with the video, I have indeed lived on both on post and off post housing. And I pretty much have some pros for it and some cons of living on post and off post. My first experience, first duty station was Fort Bragg, North Carolina. and I stayed on post that time. I stayed, my address was, I think, 123 Labonneville Road. We had a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, probably the biggest house we had ever stayed in, because before my ex-husband joined the army, we only lived in apartments. So that was like like a up for us. We was like, oh, we're making it somewhere. The house was actually nice. It had a playground in the backyard. I could literally just walk out my back door, go to the playground, let the kids play. At the time they were, I think Peyton was like 3 and Joe was like 1, so I was not going to let them go outside by themselves. But if they had been older, I definitely would have let them went outside by themselves. Um, I love the fact that the hospital, Womack, was literally down the street. It took about 5 minutes driving from our home to get to Womack. So if we were ever sick or anything, it was no time to get to the hospital. Also, the clinic was the other direction, probably like 7 or 8 minutes from us. So that was a good thing. We lived close to the shop at. Actually, I worked at the shop at on Ardennes, the Airborne PX at the time, the 82nd, I think Airborne PX it was called. And I was literally like 7 minutes away from the house. Granted, I never got to work on time. I never got to work on time, like ever. And I stayed literally 6 minutes from my job, but I was always late. And trust me, I got in trouble for it all the time, but I was like the best worker. They weren't gonna let me go. So I did that for like literally 3 years straight. I was always late. But I loved staying on post there. The neighborhood felt very safe. The neighbors were very close knit. We knew all the neighbors, well, the majority of the neighbors that stayed on the street. You knew the little kids that stayed there. And another thing that I loved about living there on post was that they had a gym that was literally right down the street. It was like the neighborhood center. So you had the gym in there and you could use it 24 hours a day. All you needed was like your key card to come in. You could wash clothes there if you didn't have a washing machine in your house. I think we had a washing machine in our house. And you have the computer lab there. So if you didn't have a computer or printer or whatever at home, you could use the computer lab there. Also, living on post was easy to go to the PX because it was 2 PXs and 2 commissaries. So I actually love that. I rarely left off post unless I had to go to the mall or if I wanted to go to eat. But the thing is, the food court was always there. So that was a good option as well. So living on Fort Bragg was actually really great. Then we transitioned and moved once my ex-husband ended up getting med boarded. We ended up moving off post, living in Fayetteville of Cliffdale. Now the house that I had there was very nice. I think the rent at the time was like $950. This was like back in 20 what 14, 15. So the rent was like $950. And the house that we had was, I think it was a 4 bedroom, no, a 5 bedroom house, 3.5 bath. That was a nice house. I like that house. The backyard was basically fenced in, but it had like big woods back there. And I think our neighbors next door, they had bought their house. So they had made like a track in the back so they could ride their four-wheelers or whatever. We were close to the shopping centers like gas stations, Walmart, all the fast food restaurants, shopping centers. I was at Route 21 almost every other day trying to find something to wear to go to Hus downtown because I was at the club almost every other weekend. So I loved it there. The bad negative thing about being there was that it was it's break-ins. People who have lived in Fayetteville know that Fayetteville is a little dangerous. It is. Granted, the neighborhood that I lived in was okay, but people from like the other side that was not so good neighborhood would come there and break in people's cars who lived over there. So that was a negative part about living off post there, pretty much. Um, After that whole transition, I divorced, remarried, and me and my husband, we get stationed at Fort Benning. Well, we ended up not being able to find a house on post. in time. We was like crunch time because I think he only had like a week or like 2 weeks before he was actually supposed to be there. So we actually started kind of late, and we ended up renting a house in Fort Mitchell. Loved Fort Mitchell. Quiet neighborhood. Mostly everybody who live out there is either active duty or retired military. Pretty much a lot of people, like everybody kind of know everybody because it's real close knit. You have like a few stores out there. You have the gas station right there. So living out there was actually pretty good. Loved it. Um, what ended up actually happening was after living in the house for 2 years, I want to say, no, after I think it was a year, and we went to re do our lease to pay for another year. The owners ended up wanting to come back. They ended up getting stationed at Fort Benning, and of course, they want to come back to their house. Who would blame them? You would rather go back to the house that you're paying the mortgage for, versus going somewhere else. So that kind of messed us up. That's actually a con right there. The fact that when you're military, you're living in someone else's house off post renting, and they so happen to be military as well, and then they want to come back home and get in their house, and you're kind of out of luck, and we were out of luck. Luckily, we found a house that was right down the street. It was a 6 bedroom, 3.5 bath. It was 1,500 a month as well. No, so the first one that we had in Fort Mitchell was 1,500. The next one we ended up having was like 16. I want to say 1675 or something like that. That was actually a really nice house. Love that house. My husband to this day say that he wish he had bought that house, and he did not. But it was a really great neighborhood. Loved the neighbors that we did talk to that was there. Everybody was kind of spaced out. So I really loved that factor of it. And after living in Fort Mitchell at Creek Trail for a while, the next thing was Alaska. Get to Fort Wainwright. Of course, we were not about to stay off post because we've never been to Alaska before. We don't know nobody in Alaska. So we ended up getting a house on post. I actually liked my house that was on post there. It was a 5 bedroom, 2.5 bath. Yes, 5 bedroom, 2.5 bath. It was nice. It had heated floors, heated garage, nice big front yard and backyard. Love that. And the playground was right there. So my kids are a little older now, so I could see them going outside playing out the window. I didn't have to worry about anything happening to them. All the kids kind of associated with each other. So it was nice. We literally was probably what 2 minutes away from the hospital, Womack in a car. I could not Womack, I'm sorry, Bassett. 2 minutes from Bassett. We could have walked, but who was gonna walk when it's like negative 50 degrees? But in the driving in a car, you're 2 minutes away. I was like 3 minutes literally walking from the shop at, and I worked there too. And guess what? I was still late. I was still late for work every day. They never said anything to me there because, of course, I was a great worker, so no one ever said anything to me. But yes, I literally was late all the freaking time. Of course, they have the PX, you have the commissary, you have the gym, all those good amenities. Loved it. Loved my house there. Loved the fact that my friends were literally in the same vicinity, and it would take us no more than maybe 10 minutes to get to their house. That's it. And I only went off post when I had to, and that was probably to Walmart or to Costco's because that was my store when I stayed in Alaska. Costco's was my number one spot. My husband hated me going in there because I spent over $100 every time I went up in that store. I always found something. And of course, in everything in Alaska, what I loved about, I guess, because the roads are so bad and so much snow and ice, everything is like in close vicinity. It doesn't take you no more than 10 minutes to get to where you need to go. So that was a positive thing about being there on post. And then lastly, here we get stationed at Fort Benning again, and we end up living off post because apparently back in November of 2025, they lost, no, 2024 actually. I'm sorry. In 2024, they lost our application. It fell through the cracks, apparently, as the lady said. And we had no choice but to rent off post. The house that we have now, I do like my house. The neighborhood is okay, just okay. I've lived in better neighborhoods, but it's okay. I do love the fact that we're close to all the stores. Like Dollar General's literally down the street. I could walk to it if I wanted to, but I'm not. Walgreens is down the street. Piggly Wiggly, Walmart is not that far. All the restaurants are literally on this strip where I live. Applebee's is like 6 minutes from me. So I totally love that part of it. That's real cool. This house we have right now, it's I want to say a 4 bedroom, I think five bedroom, 2.5 bath. That's what we have right now. And our rent is like 1,800. So the house that we're living in now is like 1,800. That is a lot because from what I found out, if we were on post in our house, because my husband's rank is E6, we would be paying 1,800. Now, just to get into like literally, I've explained, where I've been, what I liked about living off post, and then what I love living on post. Now let's get into like the greatest parts and the bad parts. So I will say the baddest parts right now, what I'm experiencing, what I have, if I feel like if you are someone who is, you know, have a lot of money that you probably want to blow and you got it like that, I would say staying off post is good for you. If you have the money like that, to spend on extra bills and extra stuff, I would say that it's good for you. Good things about being off post, you get to have more freedom on certain things. um you don't have to worry about like noise complaints, stuff like that, people reporting you because you're too loud in your house. Your kids are in their yard, or your kids are too loud and doing stuff, or people, beating on your walls saying like, hey, you guys are doing too much over there, or trying to like crash your parties because apparently you're too loud. That's one positive, and you feel like you have your privacy, because most of the time when you're living off post, your houses are not so close together. When you're especially when you're renting in a neighborhood, your house is not so close together. Like even the neighborhood I am in now, our houses are not close together. I see my neighbors probably every once in a while. I know that I have like a family, a big old family that stay to the left of me, and to the right of me is a bunch of people that's in the army that stay next door to me. That's all I know, pretty much. Um, you also are closer to other stores, because you got to think about it when you're, you know, on post, you're kind of limited to the PX and the shop at and whatever restaurants is on the store. Well, on whatever restaurants are on post. But the thing is, mostly everything on post closes early, or when holidays come around, they close at a certain time. When you're off post, you have the luxury of going to stores that at least stay open to like 10, 11 o'clock at night, or even midnight. Like the gas stations that are down the street from me, they're open to like midnight. Granted, I don't be out at midnight, but they do be open until midnight. You got the Waffle House that's open like 24 hours. Or if you want to go to Taco Bell, like let's say you're hungry at 11 o'clock at night, you can go to Taco Bell. Taco Bell is open till like 3 o'clock in Phoenix City. 3 o'clock in the morning in Phoenix City. And I am nowhere from Taco Bell. I'm literally driving like 6 minutes away from Taco Bell, versus if I was on post in Fort Benning, it's going to take me probably 10 to 15 minutes, probably 15 minutes to get to Taco Bell. So that is a luxury, being able to go to stores that opens on certain holidays and don't close early on certain holidays like it is on post. Every time it's a certain holiday, the stores are closing early or just being closed, period. Now, to give you a positive thing about being on post, you don't have no light bill and no water bill. Because I'll tell you this, being off post, especially this time around, our light bill has been like $500. When we first got here, we got in this house February of 2025. So our first light bill was probably like two something. But once it started getting hot, we're using the air all the time. It got up to $500. $500 is a lot. $500 is a hell of a lot. We got our bill this month. Our bill this month, $500. And that's because we, of course, live in the South. So we're not using the heater anymore. For real, we're using the air conditioner. And I don't care. If it's hot in the house, I'm going to turn the air on. If it get cold in the house, I'm going to turn the heat on. I'm one of them people. I do not care. The bill's still going to get paid regardless. If it's hot, I'm going to turn the air on. If it's cold, I'm going to turn the heat on. And usually lately here, it's hot in the afternoon and at night it's cold. So, granted, I do flip flop, especially me and my kids and my husband. We like to sleep in the cold. We do. Even when we were in Alaska, we would openly is when it was like -45 outside. We slept with our windows open because we like to sleep with a bunch of comforters. So yes, when it was -45, the windows would still be open, collecting all that good old air. So the same thing kind of here. We like to sleep like when it's cold. Like it needs to be cool in the house. So I put the thermostat on probably like 68, 69 at night. And then in the morning when we get up, it's probably freezing. And then I turn the heater on. So yeah, that most likely has caused our bills to go up. Now we do have to pay for water and sewage in Phoenix City goes together, whereas in Fort Mitchell it's two separate bills. But in Phoenix City, we have one big bill. So our bill is like $100 pretty much together for both. That's $600 a month. $600 a month. So think about it. $600, like we've spent thousands of dollars in like bills on top of the fact that we have to pay for like internet in the house. We're doing that. We have a grocery bill. And another thing that I'll give you a pro by staying on post, when your spouse is closer to their job, they only have to use like barely any gas. Like when we was at Fort Wayne, right, my husband could fill up the flex and that would last almost a month because he stayed nowhere from the job. And then when we were going off post, like I said, everything in Fairbanks is kind of close together. So you are only driving like 10 minutes tops. The only time you was really wasting gas is because in the wintertime, you're leaving your car on so it won't freeze, especially if your car was not winterized and ours wasn't. So that's pretty much the only time we waste gas when we left the car on in the wintertime. Other than that, trying to go from A to B, we were not using any gas at all. Now, let's fast forward back to here. We live in Phoenix City. We're basically 30 minutes away from Fort Benning. So my husband goes to PT at like 5 in the morning. He's driving 30 minutes there, and then he's driving 30 minutes back to take a shower. And then he's going back to work around like 9 o'clock. That's another 30 minutes. And then let's say some days he forgets something that he needs for work. That's another 30-minute drive. And then you're driving another back. And then you got to get off. It's some days where my daughter, Erin, she goes to tutoring 3 times out the week. Well, I'm not able to get her. Granted, we only have one car. And I could walk down the street to get her, but I'm working. I work from home. I work from 11:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. So I'm not able to get off the phone at 5:30, walk to the school, and then walk her back. So what he does, he gets off work. He will go to pick her up from tutoring at 5:30. He'll bring her home, and then sometimes he goes back to work. Look how much gas that is being used. Hundreds of dollars of gas being used every month. Like, I'm sure we spend over probably 250 to $300 a month in gas. So then when you add it up for a month, if you're adding up the bills plus the gas that we're spending, it's about a good maybe 750 to 900. 750 to $900 a month that we're spending extra, that if we lived on post, we wouldn't even have to spend that. You got to think about that. That's the bigger picture. And I know a lot of people like to live off post for their privacy because, yes, that is a good thing. But in today's economy at this moment, I would rather live on post to save money. And that's why we made the option of, well, once a house got available and our lease was up, we're going back on post to save money. Because when I tell you the economy is drowning us right now, bills are drowning us. Not to mention just extra things, because we have 4 kids. So, I have 2 girls that need glasses. I have a daughter that's about to get braces. I am paying for school stuff. I have a daughter in high school. She needs stuff for school. I have 2 kids in elementary school. They're always paying for trips and certain stuff. I have a daughter in middle school. She has to pay for certain programs and stuff that they be having there, little dances and stuff. All that adds up outside of just the regular bills that we have in the house. So I feel like if people have the money to spend and it's just more peaceful to you guys to be in your own place without dealing with certain rules like you do on posts, I would say living off post is perfect. But I feel like if you feel like you just PCSing from another duty station and you've been financially hit hard, staying on post is the thing. That's the main reason of why we wanted to stay on post in the first place, because we financially got hit very hard coming from Alaska. When I say the bank account was empty, empty. We were on zero literally when we got here. And just living in a hotel just made it even freaking worse. So by the time we got our income tax in February, we paid the first month's rent and a deposit on the house because we couldn't stay in a hotel. It was basically drowning us even further than what we already was. And then they didn't call us until the end of March to say, hey, we got a house. Like, we're already done now. We already paid this rent. We already paid the first month. We got utilities hooked up. We're not going nowhere now. If we could have, trust me, we would have. But we couldn't. So I say both of them have their perks, to be honest. But both of them also have the bad things too. Especially like with being on post. Um, I know when we were at Fort Wayne, right, we really never had problems, especially with neighbors, because we always had parties at Fort Wayne, right. That's why for one, that was one of my favorite houses. And I made the most friends living there versus at every other duty station. I make the most friends living there. But we never had to worry about, dealing with our neighbors complaining about the kids being loud or parties. But my husband is infantry. So when he drink, he likes to get lit, and he would be in the garage in the summertime with the garage door wide open. He had a TV and a couch in there. He would be blasting music. Then you have to deal with the MPs riding, like getting on his case about him being in his own garage, playing music in his own garage, playing music, not doing nothing to anybody. Granted, he was drinking, but you're in your own home. If you're off post, you don't have to deal with situations like that. You don't have to deal with nobody talking about you being in your own house doing your own thing. But then on post, you do have to sometimes deal with stuff like that. And that can be annoying. I don't know how um most bases are, just a few. For example, with Alaska, my husband had this big expensive grill, like smoker. It was like $500. My husband is great at cooking barbecue, by the way, amazing. He bought it, and we would keep it outside, you know yeah, we'll keep it outside in the driveway because we had a 2-car driveway. And in the summer apparently it was fine, but when the winter came, the first winter no one said a thing to us, but apparently when some new people started working for housing there, they were like, "Oh, you're not supposed to have that outside." Who is it bothering? If it's in our driveway, who is it bothering? But of course, they penalized us for that. Another thing is about having the backyard in Alaska, no one ever went out there. The little fenced in part of the porch, no one ever really went out there. But they would get on your case about if it had too much snow on it and tell you that, hey, you need to clean the snow. Who is it bothering? No one is even back here. Why are you dictating what I do with my backyard? And no one is out here. It's like negative 40 degrees. Who is going to really do this? I understand the front driveway of getting the snow off that because you have to park your car. And sometimes, the maintenance people park their vans there, stuff like that. And of course, the mail guy or Amazon would have to walk in your driveway to walk up to your front door and give you your package of mail. I understand that being clear of snow. But what do you have to do with my backyard? Made no sense. So I did not like that. I don't like how certain times on military bases they try to dictate what you do in your yard versus when you're off post. Nobody is dictating what you do with your own yard because you do whatever. If you want to have toys out in your front yard, nobody's going to say anything to you. But on certain posts, if your yard doesn't look the way it's supposed to look, they're going to let you know about it and that you need to take care of it. I don't like that. I feel like that's very irritating. So that is kind of a con of being on post. Have someone telling you what your yard should look like. Fort Bragg, I don't know, do they do this anymore at Fort Bragg? But I remember back in 2013, they would come to your house. It wasn't every month, it was like every few months and like look over your house, like do an inspection. Yeah. Never, that's kind of why I didn't want to live on post anymore because of that experience I had at Fort Bragg. I don't know, do they do that anymore? But back then, they would inspect your house and look to see, what you had going on in there, what you maybe need fixed, what you needed to correct. Now, I understand a move out inspection or a move in inspection, but why are you inspecting the house every few months to see what is what? I did not like that at all. Now, I will say they didn't have that in Alaska for Wainwright. I didn't have to worry about that. They just did the move in inspection and then the move out. Love that. Think about it. If you're living off post, you don't have to deal with stuff like that at all. They do that move in and move out, and that's about it. You have nothing else to worry about. So, yes, it's a lot of pros and cons dealing with both. I've experienced both. Both have had their good things and their bad things, but I feel like it's just whatever is a good fit for you and your family, that's what you should do. So I hope that this video was informative to you guys. Please, if you have any questions, please ask them. And if you have any comments, I would love to see them. Thanks for watching. Bye.
No, I'm really just